Billionaire returns after 18 years to see ex-wife and freezes at what he sees. Marcus Sterling held the bouquet of imported flowers with trembling hands, observing the cracked, weathered cabin that stood before him. The limousine driver had asked 3 times if this was really the place, doubting that the address could be correct. 18 years ago, he had promised Elena that he would return with enough money to build the palace she deserved. Now, a billionaire and respected across the country, he stood there like a lost boy, unable to knock on that worn wooden door. The woman who opened the door leaned on a cane made from a tree branch. Her grey hair was tied in a simple bun, and she blinked slowly, as if she had trouble seeing. "Are you lost?" she asked with a sweet voice, the same voice that had haunted his dreams for nearly 2 decades. Marcus felt as if someone had ripped all the air from his lungs. Elena had not recognized him. She looked in his direction, but her eyes didn't seem to fully focus on his face. I was looking for Elena Miller," he managed to say, his voice coming out rougher than intended. "That's me. Do you know me? Someone gave me your name. Said you might be able to help me with some information about the area." Elena smiled, and that smile could still disarm all the defenses Marcus had built over the years. "Come in, please. It's not good to keep guests outside. Would you like a glass of water or some coffee? I just made some." Marcus stepped inside the house and almost tripped. The dirt floor was clean but uneven. The walls had damp stains, and a bucket in the corner collected drops falling from the ceiling. That was nowhere near the mansion he had promised to build. "Mom, who is it?" A girl about 16 appeared at the back door, drying her hands on a cloth. Marcus felt the world spin. Those green eyes were just like his. The shape of her face, the way she tilted her head. It was like looking at a female version of himself. "It's a gentleman who wants to know about our area, Chloe. Go call your brother to greet the visitor." Chloe looked him up and down, clearly suspicious of the well-dressed man who had appeared out of nowhere in their simple home. "He must be drawing again," said Chloe. "He spends hours doing those weird drawings." A boy about 10 came running in, holding sheets of paper stained with colored pencils. He stopped abruptly when he saw Marcus, and his eyes widened. "Mom, he looks like the man from my drawings." Elena laughed, not understanding the strangeness in her son's voice. "Tyler always draws a man in a suit. He says he dreams about him. Kids have such imaginations." Marcus looked at the drawings in the boy's hands. They were childish scribbles, but clearly depicted a tall man with dark hair, wearing a dark suit. The same suit he was wearing at that moment. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to hit like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us beginners a lot. Now continuing. "Sit here," said Elena, pointing to a wooden chair beside the table. "Sorry for the simplicity. Ever since my husband left to make his fortune, things have been tighter." Marcus sat down slowly, feeling each word like a dagger in his chest. Elena poured water into a cracked but clean glass. "Does your husband travel for work?" asked Marcus, feigning casualness. "Traveled," corrected Elena, and her voice took on a deep sadness. "It's been 18 years. He said he'd come back rich to give me the life I deserved." I was pregnant with Chloe at the time. Chloe stopped organizing the table and looked at her mother. "Mom, you don't need to tell that to strangers. It's fine, honey. The gentleman seems like a trustworthy person." Marcus could barely swallow the water. 18 years. She had counted every year, every month he had been gone. "And he never came back?" Marcus insisted. "I never heard from him again," Elena sighed. "At first I thought he had found another woman in Chicago. Then I thought something bad might have happened. But deep in my heart I still believe he will come back." "Mom," Chloe whispered, clearly embarrassed. "It's true, Chloe. Every night before I go to sleep, I ask God to protect Marcus and bring him back home." Marcus let the glass slip from his hands. Water spread across the wooden table, but he didn't even notice. Elena still prayed for him. After 18 years of abandonment, she still spoke his name every night. "Marcus?" he asked, his voice barely audible. That was his name. Marcus Sterling. "The most handsome man who ever lived in this world," Elena smiled, lost in memories. "He had green eyes that looked like jewels." Chloe looked directly at Marcus, noticing for the first time the color of his eyes. Her expression shifted from suspicion to something close to fear. "Mom, what time did Mr. George say he was coming?" "What Mr. George, dear?" "The man who is going to help fix the roof." Eleanor seemed confused, but Marcus understood that Chloe was trying to make him leave. The girl had noticed the resemblance. "I can help with the roof," Marcus offered quickly. "I have experience with construction." "You don't need to bother, sir." "Sorry, I didn't ask your name." Marcus hesitated. For a second he almost told the truth, but he wasn't ready. Not like this. "Vincent. Vincent Thorne." "Mr. Vincent, you're very kind, but I can't accept help from a stranger." "Let him help, Mom," said Tyler, still studying the drawings on his own hands. "He looks like he knows what he's doing." Chloe shot a furious look at her younger brother, but Elena was already nodding in agreement. "If you don't mind, the roof really needs fixing. During the last rain, it soaked Chloe's entire bed." Marcus felt like crying. His daughter slept in a bed that flooded when it rained, while he owned mansions in 3 different states. "How did you lose—" he began, but stopped himself. "Lose what?" Elena tilted her head, genuinely curious. "Sorry, I noticed you have trouble seeing." Elena touched her own face, as if she had forgotten about her disability. "Oh, that. It was a work accident about 5 years ago. I used to sew for a clothing factory in the neighboring town. A machine exploded and some shards flew into my face. I lost almost all vision in my right eye, and the left one got blurry." Marcus clenched his fists under the table. 5 years ago, he was inaugurating his 3rd company, toasting with vintage champagne. Meanwhile, Eleanor was losing her sight in a work accident. "The doctors said surgery could help," Elena continued, "but the treatment is very expensive. I preferred to use the money to pay for the children's education. And now how do you support yourself?" "I embroider by hand. I make towels, dishcloths, those things. Chloe helps me. She has very skilled hands. And Tyler sells drawings to tourists passing by on the highway." Marcus looked around the house again, noticing details he had missed on his first glance. The walls were decorated with delicate embroidery, work that must have taken days to complete. A pile of colorful cloths was stacked in a corner, waiting to be sold. "May I see your embroidery?" "Of course." Elena brightened, rising slowly and walking to an old dresser. "Chloe, show Mr. Vincent the pieces." Chloe approached reluctantly, carrying some embroidered items. Marcus examined them closely. These were works of exceptional quality, with tiny details and vibrant colors. Any home decor store in Washington, D.C. would charge hundreds of dollars for pieces like those. "How much do you charge for this?" "Depends on the size. This one I sell for $10. $10. Marcus spent more than that on a cup of coffee at the airport. He took out his wallet and placed a $100 bill on the table. "I want to buy them all." "Mr. Vincent, that's too much money. I can't accept it." "Please accept it. They're gifts for people in my family." Eleanor hesitated, clearly tempted by the amount, but Chloe interfered. "We don't need charity, sir." "It's not charity," Marcus said, looking directly into his daughter's green eyes. "It's a fair deal. These embroideries are worth much more in the city." Tyler approached the table, fascinated by the bills. "Mom, with this money we can buy new paint for my drawings." "And we can buy that medicine you needed," added Chloe, her resistance fading. Eleanor took the money with trembling fingers. "God bless you, Mr. Vincent. It's been a long time since we've seen such kindness from a stranger." Kindness. Marcus almost laughed at the irony. 18 years of absence, and she called a $100 bill kindness. "Can I ask you something, Mrs. Elena?" "Of course." "Have you never thought about remarrying? 18 years is a long time to wait." Chloe and Tyler tensed up, clearly uncomfortable with the question. Elena, however, replied serenely, "I've had a few offers. Good, hard-working men. But my heart still belongs to Marcus. I know everyone thinks I'm foolish, an old woman clinging to an illusion. But true love doesn't choose to be practical." Marcus felt a lump in his throat that made breathing difficult. After everything he had done, all the abandonment and suffering he had caused, She still loved him. Maybe he has an explanation for the delay, Marcus suggested cautiously. Maybe, Elena smiled sadly. Or maybe he simply forgot about us. Either way, I can't change how I feel. A noise at the door made everyone turn. An elderly man entered the cabin unceremoniously, carrying a toolbox. Hey, Elena, came to see what needs fixing in the... The man stopped abruptly upon seeing Marcus. His eyes widened. Marcus? Marcus Sterling? The silence that followed was deafening. Marcus felt his blood run cold. Elena quickly turned her head toward the elderly man. What are you talking about, Mr. Arthur? This is Mr. Vincent. Vincent? Nothing! Arthur pointed an accusing finger at Marcus. That's Marcus Sterling, the man who abandoned you pregnant 18 years ago. Chloe stood up so quickly that the chair fell backward. Tyler dropped his drawings to the floor. Eleanor stood still as a statue. Arthur, you're mistaken, Marcus said, trying to keep his voice steady. My name is Vincent Thorne. Mistaken, nothing. I worked on the construction of your first house, Marcus Sterling. I carried bricks for you for 3 months. I may be old, but I'm not blind. Elena slowly stood up, holding onto the table for balance. Her hands were visibly trembling. Marcus? The way she said the name, with so much pain and hope mixed together, broke Marcus's heart into 1,000 pieces. Eleanor, Is it you? Is it really you? Marcus looked at Chloe, who stared at him with a mix of hatred and disbelief. He looked at Tyler, who seemed not to understand what was happening. He looked at Arthur, who had crossed his arms, waiting for an explanation. Finally, he looked at Elena, at the woman he had loved more than life itself, and had abandoned in pursuit of a dream that had become a nightmare. It's me, he whispered. Elena staggered as if she had been punched. Chloe ran to hold her, but Elena dodged her daughter's support. 18 years. Her voice came out like a lament. 18 years I waited. 18 years praying, crying, hoping you'd come back. Elena, please let me explain. Explain? Chloe exploded. Explain what? How you abandoned a pregnant woman? How you vanished from our lives without a word? How you let my mother work until she lost her sight to support us? Chloe, it's not like that, not like that. The girl laughed bitterly. Then how is it? Where were you when Mom fainted from hunger because she gave all the food to us? Where were you when she sold her own shoes to buy school notebooks? Where were you when she cried herself to sleep every night thinking you were dead? I was building an empire for you. Marcus also exploded. I wanted to give you everything I never had. I wanted my children to have the best schools, the best clothes, the best opportunities. Your children? Chloe laughed again. What children? You don't have children here. You have 2 strangers who grew up without a father, not knowing if you were alive or dead. Eleanor finally found her voice again. Leave, she said softly. Leave my house. Eleanor, please. Leave my house, she screamed, and the intensity of the scream made Tyler start crying. 18 years! You come back after 18 years and want an explanation. There is no explanation for abandonment. There is no explanation for leaving an entire family to die. Marcus tried to step closer, but Chloe positioned herself between him and her mother. You heard her. Go away. You are my children. She is my wife. Ex-wife, Chloe corrected. And we are not your children. Children have a present father. Children know their father. We only know stories of a man who abandoned his family. I tried to come back, Marcus lied, desperate. I sent money, tried to get in touch. I never could. Liar, Arthur interjected. If you had sent anything, the whole neighborhood would have known. Elena spent 18 years in poverty, sewing until her fingers bled to support these children. Marcus looked at his own hands, manicured and soft. He looked at Elena, whose fingers were calloused and marked by years of manual labor. The difference between them at that moment seemed greater than any ocean. Give me a chance to explain, a chance to make up for it. Make up for it? Elena laughed, but it was a laugh without joy. How are you going to make up for our children's first word that you weren't there to hear? How are you going to make up for the first steps, the first nights with fever, the first days of school? How are you going to make up for 18 birthdays you missed? How are you going to make up for 18 Christmases without a father's gift? Marcus had no answer for that. He had never thought about those details. He had focused so much on building a better future for them that he had completely forgotten to be part of the present. "I have money now," he said, knowing how pathetic it sounded. "I can give you everything you need. I can pay for your eye surgery. I can send Chloe to the best art school in the country. I can give Tyler all the drawing materials he wants." "You think it's all about money?" Chloe was trembling with anger. "You think you can buy back 18 lost years? That you can buy the love of a daughter you don't even know?" "Chloe is right." Eleanor spoke more calmly now, but her voice carried a coldness Marcus had never heard before. "Money doesn't bring back lost time. It doesn't bring back the childhood my children spent without a father. It doesn't bring back the youth I lost waiting for you." Marcus looked around the simple house, at the old furniture, at the cracked ceiling, at the dirt floor. Then he looked at his own $3,000 suit, at the gold watch on his wrist, at the designer leather shoes that had cost more than Eleanor earned in 6 months. "At least let me help financially. You don't have to struggle." "We've never struggled," said Tyler, speaking for the first time since the revelation. "We've always had love. That's what matters." The wisdom in the 10-year-old boy's voice left Marcus speechless. Tyler was right. They had never really struggled. They had love, they had unity, they had dignity, things that all of Marcus's money had never bought for himself. "Tyler, go to your room," Elena said softly. "But Mom—" "Go, son. Take your drawings." The boy obeyed, but before leaving, he stopped in front of Marcus. "The man in my drawings was different." He smiled. He looked happy. Marcus knelt down to be at the boy's level. "How did you know what I looked like?" "Mom always described you to us. She said you had kind eyes and a childlike smile, but you don't smile, and your eyes are sad." Tyler left the room, leaving Marcus kneeling on the floor, feeling smaller than ever. Eleanor approached and sat in the chair next to him. "Get up, Marcus. You don't have to stay on the floor." He stood up and sat down again, but kept his distance from her. "Elena, I know I can't undo what I did. I know I can't bring back the years I lost, but I want to try to make up for lost time." "How? By staying. If you let me, I'll stay here. If you— I'll abandon everything and stay here with you." Chloe let out a sarcastic laugh. "Abandon everything, like you did to us 18 years ago." "Chloe, don't be cruel," Eleanor scolded. "Cruel? Mom, he was the cruel one. He was cruel to leave us. He was cruel to pretend his name was Vincent and fool us." "I didn't mean to fool you," Marcus tried to defend himself. "I just wanted to get to know you before I revealed who I was." "Why?" Marcus hesitated. Why had he lied about his name? Out of fear of rejection? Out of cowardice? Out of shame? "Because I was afraid," he admitted. "Afraid that you would hate me. Afraid that Elena would send me away before I even had a chance to explain." "And shouldn't she?" Chloe crossed her arms. "Why should she give you a chance after what you did?" Marcus had no answer for that either. Chloe was right. He didn't deserve a chance. He didn't deserve forgiveness. He didn't deserve anything but hatred and resentment. Arthur, who had remained silent watching the argument, finally spoke up. "Marcus, son, I remember you. I remember when you and Elena got married. You were a good, hard-working young man. What happened to you?" "Ambition happened," Marcus answered honestly. "Ambition and greed. I wanted to give Elena a princess's life. I wanted her to never again need anything like she had in her childhood, and I lost myself in that goal." "You really lost yourself," Arthur agreed. "Because what Elena always wanted wasn't a princess's life. It was a life with you." Marcus looked at Elena, who kept her eyes fixed on her lap. She was crying silently, tears streaming down her face, without her making any move to wipe them away. "Elena, do you forgive me?" She looked up and faced him. Even with his impaired vision, Marcus knew she was seeing straight into his soul. "I forgave you a long time ago, Marcus. I forgave you because holding anger in your heart hurts you more than it hurts the person who wronged you. But forgiving doesn't mean I'm ready to come back. Forgiving doesn't mean I can trust you again. Forgiving doesn't mean our family can be rebuilt as if nothing happened. Marcus felt the last shred of hope drain from his chest. What does it mean then? It means you can visit your children. You can try to get to know them and let them get to know you. You can try to build some kind of relationship with them if they want. But it also means you will respect the fact that I've lived 18 years without you and learned to live on my own. Are you dismissing me? I'm being realistic. You built a life far away from us. You have responsibilities, commitments, a reality that doesn't include a weathered cabin in the countryside. And we built a life without you. A simple life, but ours. Chloe, who had been listening in silence, approached her mother. Mom, are you sure? After everything? I'm sure, sweetheart. Some things, when broken, cannot be glued back exactly as they were before. Marcus stood up from the chair. His legs felt like lead. And if I really stay? What if I really give up everything and stay here with you? Would you do that? Elena asked, and there was something in her voice that Marcus couldn't identify. Would you leave your business, your responsibilities, your life in Chicago to come live in a weathered cabin in the middle of nowhere? Yes. And after a month, when the novelty wears off, when you remember everything you left behind, when simplicity starts to weigh on you, what happens when you regret this decision? Marcus opened his mouth to answer, but the words wouldn't come. Because deep down he knew Elena was right. He had gotten used to luxury, to comfort, to the adrenaline of business. Would he be able to give all of that up permanently? You see? Elena smiled sadly. You're not even sure if you could. And I can't bet my children's emotional future on the possibility that you've changed. Arthur cleared his throat, breaking the tension of the moment. Elena, may I offer a suggestion? Of course, Mr. Arthur. Why not let him prove it? Why not give him a real chance to show he's changed? What do you mean? Chloe asked suspiciously. Let him stay for a while. A month, 2 months. If he really wants to make up for lost time, let him prove it with actions, not words. Marcus perked up at the suggestion. Yes, that's perfect. Let me prove I've changed. Where would you stay? Elena asked pragmatically. We don't have any extra space here. I can rent a place in town, or build something simple on the lot next door if you'll allow it. The lot next door belongs to Mrs. Martha, Arthur informed, but I'm sure she'd rent it to you. Chloe looked worried. Mom, are you sure about this? What if he decides to leave again? What if Tyler gets attached and then ends up hurting? It's a risk, Elena admitted, but maybe it's a risk worth taking. Marcus felt a small spark of hope reigniting. Elena, I swear to you that this time it's different. This time, I won't leave. Don't swear anything, she said calmly. Just prove it. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. That really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Marcus spent the night in a small hotel in the neighboring town, but barely got any sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Elena's face when she discovered his true identity, or the expression of anger and disappointment in Chloe's eyes. The next morning, he returned to the house wearing simpler clothes he had bought during the night. The expensive suit was replaced by jeans and a cotton shirt. The designer leather shoes gave way to common leather boots. Elena was hanging clothes on the line when she saw him arrive. She watched him in silence for a long moment. Different clothes don't make a different man, she said without hostility, simply stating a fact. I know, but it's a start. Tyler came running out of the house, stopping a few feet from Marcus. The boy examined him curiously. Are you really going to stay? If your mother allows it, yes. And you're not leaving again? The innocent question struck Marcus Sterling like a dagger to the chest. The insecurity in the boy's voice showed that even at 10 years old, Tyler understood the risk of getting attached to a father who had abandoned the family once. I'm not leaving, Tyler. I promise. Mr. Arthur said that grown-up promises sometimes don't mean anything. Marcus knelt down to the boy's height. Mr. Arthur is right, but I'm going to prove to you that this promise does. Can I? Tyler nodded slowly, still suspicious, but with a glimmer of curiosity in his eyes. Do you want to help me get to know the town? I need to find a place to stay. There's Mrs. Martha's place. She rents out rooms to the harvest workers. Can you take me there?" Tyler looked at Elena, who nodded in approval. For the first time in 18 years, Marcus walked through the small town alongside one of his children. The town had grown since the last time he was there. New houses, a gas station, a small school that hadn't existed before, but it kept the slow pace and welcoming atmosphere that Marcus had forgotten existed. "That's the school over there." Tyler pointed to a small but well-maintained building. "Chloe studied there until last year. Now she's finished, but she still helps Ms. Susan with the younger kids." "And you? Do you like school?" "I do, especially the drawing classes. Ms. Susan says I have talent." "Can I see more of your drawings?" Tyler hesitated, but eventually agreed. By the time they reached Mrs. Martha's house, the boy had relaxed enough to talk about his dreams of becoming a famous artist. Mrs. Martha was a sturdy woman in her 60s, with grey hair tied up in a colourful scarf. She looked Marcus up and down with sharp eyes. "You're the man who came back after 18 years. "I am." "And you think you can just come back and be accepted?" "I don't think anything, Mrs. Martha. I'm trying to earn a second chance." "Well, at least you're not being arrogant," she grumbled. "The room is $50 a week, including breakfast. No noise after 9 at night, no female visitors, no drinking. If you don't like the rules, you can look elsewhere." "I accept all the conditions. And you can start by helping carry some feed sacks that arrived today. If you're going to stay here, you'll work like everyone else." Marcus spent the rest of the morning carrying feed sacks to Mrs. Martha's shed. Physical labor was something he hadn't done in over 15 years, and soon his hands were blistered and his back ached. Tyler watched with interest, clearly impressed to see the man in the suit from the previous day, carrying heavy loads like a common laborer. "Why are you doing this?" the boy asked. "Because Mrs. Martha asked." "But you're rich. You don't have to work like this." Marcus stopped carrying for a moment and looked at Tyler. "You know what my biggest mistake was, Tyler. It was thinking that money was more important than family. Now I'm learning that honest work, no matter what it is worth more than all the money in the world if it's done for the people we love." Tyler didn't fully understand the words, but he caught the feeling behind them. "Mom always says that work gives a person dignity. Your mother is a wise woman." When they finished organizing the shed, Mrs. Martha served a simple lunch on the porch of the house. Meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and a side of corn salad. Home cooking that Marcus hadn't tasted in years. "Is it good?" asked Mrs. Martha. "It's delicious." "You don't have to lie to please me. I know you must be used to much more refined food." "I'm not lying. It's been a long time since I've had a meal made with care." Mrs. Martha examined him with a less hostile expression. "Elena is a good woman. She always has been. During all these years you were away, she never spoke ill of you in front of the children. She always said you were a good man who had lost his way. She was always a better person than I deserved. That's true, but maybe it's not too late for you to become the person she deserves." After lunch, Marcus and Tyler returned to the house. Chloe was helping Elena organize the embroidery on a makeshift table outside. "How did the housing search go?" asked Elena without looking up from her work. "Mrs. Martha rented me a room." "For how long?" "For as long as you all let me stay in town." Chloe stopped organizing the embroidery and stared at him. "And your business?" "Your responsibilities?" "I can work remotely for a while, and if I need to travel to handle something urgent, I'll be back the same day." "Very convenient," Chloe said sarcastically. "Chloe," Elena gently reprimanded. "Sorry, Mum, but it's hard to believe he'll actually stay." Marcus approached the table and examined the embroidery. Each piece was a miniature work of art. "Can I help sell this?" "How?" asked Elena. "I know people in Washington, D.C. who would pay very well for quality handmade crafts. I can take a few pieces and show them." "No," Chloe quickly interjected. "We don't want your help making money." "Chloe, don't be like that," Tyler intervened. "If he can help Mom earn more, why not let him? Because then we'll be dependent on him, and when he decides to leave again, we'll be left with nothing." Marcus realized Chloe was protecting the family from the possibility of a second betrayal. The girl had become the emotional guardian of the house, determined not to let anyone hurt her mother again. "Chloe is right," said Marcus. "You shouldn't depend on me for anything. But I can help in other ways. I can help with the roof of the house. I can help with small repairs. I can help with whatever you need without involving money. Eleanor finally looked up and stared at him. Why do you want to do this, Marcus? Because I want to make up for lost time. Because I want to get to know my children. Because I want to try to earn your forgiveness. And if I can never fully forgive? If we can never go back to being a family? Marcus took a deep breath before answering. Then at least I'll know I tried, and my children will know that their father isn't just the man who abandoned them, but also the man who came back to try to make things right. Elena nodded slowly. All right. You can stay, but let's set some rules. What rules? First, you won't try to buy anyone's affection here. No expensive gifts, no grand promises. If you want to earn our trust, it'll be through small daily gestures. Agreed. Second, you won't interfere in how I raise our children. I raised them alone for 18 years and they're good people. I don't need corrections to my method. Agreed. Third, if you decide to leave, you give notice beforehand. You don't disappear in the middle of the night, leaving everyone wondering what happened. I agree to all the rules. Chloe listened to the agreement in silence, clearly not convinced Marcus would keep his part. And I have a rule of my own, she said. Das what? If you hurt my mother again, if you make her suffer even for a day, I will personally make sure you regret it for the rest of your life. The threat from a 16-year-old girl might have sounded comical, but Marcus saw in her eyes the same iron determination she had inherited from him. Chloe wasn't joking. Understood, he said simply. Tyler, who had remained quiet during the negotiation, approached Marcus. Will you teach me to do something? What would you like to learn? I don't know. Dad stuff. Things fathers teach their children. The simplicity of the answer cut Marcus's heart like a blade. Tyler hadn't asked for anything extravagant. He just wanted to learn father things, something that should have been natural and that Marcus had completely lost. I'll teach you everything I know, Marcus promised. That afternoon, Marcus began his first practical task, fixing the roof of the house. Mrs. Martha lent tools and Arthur offered help and guidance. The wood here is rotten, Arthur explained, pointing to a beam supporting the roof. We need to replace it, otherwise the whole house could collapse. Marcus examined the structure, trying to recall construction knowledge he hadn't used in decades. Where can we get good wood? There's a sawmill in the neighboring town, but good wood is expensive. Marcus was about to offer money when he remembered Elena's first rule. No solving problems with money. Any other option? Well, there's an old eucalyptus tree at the back of Elena's property. If we cut it down and let it dry a bit, it might work. Then let's cut it down. Tyler watched with interest as Marcus and Arthur worked to bring down the tree. The physical effort was intense, and soon Marcus was sweaty and out of breath. Are you okay? Tyler asked worriedly. I'm great, Marcus lied, trying to hide his fatigue. You don't have to kill yourself working, Arthur said. No one will think you're less of a man if you stop to rest. Marcus sat down in the shade, accepting the glass of water Tyler offered him. It's been a long time since I did manual labor. It shows, Arthur laughed. Your hands are softer than Elena's. Marcus looked at his own hands, covered in blisters and scratches after just a few hours of work. It was a stark difference from the calloused hands of Elena and the children. They'll toughen up, Marcus said with determination. Yeah, they will, Arthur agreed. If you really stay. The if hung in the air, like a constant doubt. Even Arthur, who seemed sympathetic to the idea of Marcus staying, was not completely convinced it would happen. When night fell, they had managed to cut down the tree and split the trunk into makeshift planks. It wasn't professional work, but it would be enough to fix the roof. Eleanor prepared dinner for everyone, insisting that Marcus stay to eat. You don't have to cook for me, he said. I'm not cooking for you. I'm cooking for the person who worked all day on my roof. The difference was subtle but important. Elena was repaying the work, not showing affection. During dinner, Tyler asked questions about Marcus's life in Chicago. Marcus tried to answer honestly, but without glorifying the lifestyle he had chosen. Do you have a big house? Tyler asked. I do. Bigger than this one? Much bigger. And you live alone in that big house? The innocent question hit Marcus hard. Yes, he lived alone in a 15-bedroom mansion, alone with his loneliness and his regrets. I live alone, yes. That must be very sad, Tyler observed. Chloe stopped eating and looked at Marcus, waiting for his answer. It is sad, Marcus admitted. Very sad. Is that why you came back? Chloe asked. Marcus thought carefully before answering. I came back because I finally understood that everything I built is worth nothing if I don't have you to share it with. And why did it take 18 years to understand that? Marcus didn't have a good answer for that question. Why had it really taken so long? Pride, fear, stubbornness. Because I was a fool, he said simply. Because I thought money could replace love. Because I convinced myself I was doing what was best for you, when in reality I was doing what was easiest for me. Eleanor got up from the table and began to clear the plates. Tyler, go brush your teeth. Chloe, help me with the dishes. It was the sign that the conversation was over, and that Marcus should return to his room at Mrs. Martha's house. Thank you for dinner, he said, standing up. See you tomorrow, replied Eleanor, without looking at him. Marcus left the house feeling strangely hopeful. It had been a tough first day, but not impossible. Elena had set clear boundaries. Chloe remained wary, but Tyler seemed willing to give him a chance. Back in his rented room, Marcus turned on his phone and checked the accumulated messages. Dozens of urgent emails, several missed calls from partners and employees. His business empire kept running, but it demanded his constant attention. For the first time in 20 years, Marcus ignored every message and went to sleep. The next morning, he woke up with muscle aches he hadn't felt in decades. Every movement was a reminder of the previous day's physical labor. Still, he got up early and went to have breakfast with Mrs. Martha. Sleep well? She asked, serving black coffee and homemade bread. Like a rock. Hard work is good for sleep, and for the conscience too. Marcus smiled. Mrs. Martha had a direct way of speaking that allowed no evasions or half-truths. Do you know Elena and the children well? I've known them since they were born. I saw that girl grow up taking on responsibilities that weren't hers. I saw that boy struggling to be the man of the house. And I saw Elena killing herself, working to give them dignity. And what do you think? Can they forgive me, Mrs. Martha studied him in silence for a long moment. Elena has already forgiven you because her heart is too good to hold a grudge. The question is whether you can forgive yourself and become the man they deserve. Marcus chewed the bread slowly, thinking about Mrs. Martha's words. How do I do that? By stopping being the man who thinks money solves everything and becoming the man who works with his own hands for the good of the family. After breakfast, Marcus went back to Elena's house to continue the work on the roof. Chloe was sweeping the yard and Tyler was drawing sitting under a tree. Good morning, Marcus greeted. Chloe answered with a curt nod. Tyler smiled and came running to show him his new drawing. I drew you working yesterday, the boy said, holding up the paper. The drawing showed two men cutting down a tree, clearly representing Marcus and Arthur. It was simple, but it captured the scene perfectly. That's really good, Tyler. You have real talent. Ms. Susan said if I keep practicing, I might try for a scholarship at an art school in Washington, D.C. Marcus felt his heart tighten. Tyler had real talent, but a scholarship would be very hard to get. And even if he got one, how would Elena pay for the expenses of having her son studying far from home? Would you like to study art in Washington, D.C.? Tyler hesitated, looking toward the house where Elena was working. I would, but I can't leave my mom alone. Why not? Because who will take care of her? Chloe is growing up. Soon she'll want to leave home too. If I go away, Mom will be alone. The maturity in the 10-year-old boy's answer was both inspiring and heartbreaking. Tyler was willing to sacrifice his dreams to take care of his mother, exactly as Chloe had done by choosing not to go to Chicago. And what if your mother weren't alone? Marcus suggested carefully. What do you mean? Marcus realized he was stepping on dangerous ground. Any promise he made could be seen as an attempt to buy the family's affection. Forget it, it's not important right now. No, tell me, how would Mom not be alone? Well, if I really managed to stay, If she takes me back, then you could follow your dreams without worrying about leaving her alone. Tyler Sterling considered this possibility in silence. But what if you leave again? I won't. How can you be sure? Marcus Sterling knelt down to the boy's height. Can I tell you a secret? Tyler nodded solemnly. All those years I was away, I was never truly happy. I made a lot of money, built a big company, got everything I thought I wanted. But every day I thought about you all. Every day I regretted leaving. Then why didn't you come back sooner? Because I was scared. Scared that you'd hate me. Scared that it was too late to fix what I'd broken. And now you're not scared anymore. I am scared. Very scared. But I'm even more scared of spending the rest of my life regretting not trying. Tyler nodded, as if he understood perfectly what Marcus meant. Can I help you fix the roof? Of course you can. They worked together through the morning, Marcus doing the heavy lifting and Tyler helping with small tasks. The experience of teaching something practical to his son was entirely new to Marcus, and he found he enjoyed it more than any business meeting he'd ever been part of. You're doing it right, Marcus praised when Tyler managed to nail a board into the correct place. I learned by watching you and Mr. Arthur yesterday. You're a fast learner. Mom always says we inherit some things from our parents, even if we don't know them. The casual observation made Marcus stop what he was doing. What else does your mom say about me? Tyler thought carefully before answering. She says you were very smart and very hard-working. She says you always wanted the best for the family. But she also says sometimes people get lost trying to do the right thing. And you? What do you think of me? I think you did get lost. But I think you're trying to find yourself again. The wisdom of the 10-year-old boy continued to impress Marcus. Tyler had summed up his situation perfectly in a few words. And if I really do find myself, if I manage to become the father you deserve, then we'll be a real family, Tyler replied simply. Marcus swallowed the lump in his throat and kept working. A real family. That was all he really wanted. At the end of the morning, Eleanor Miller came out of the weathered cabin carrying a pitcher of cool water. You two must be thirsty, she said, pouring water for them. Thank you, said Marcus, noticing that Elena avoided looking directly at him. How's the progress? Good. Tyler's being a great helper. Elena finally looked at her son, who was smiling proudly at the praise. Tyler has always been very handy. He got that from you, said Marcus. Or from you, Elena replied. You were always good at building things. It was the first time she had acknowledged any positive quality of Marcus's since discovering his identity. It was a small step, but significant. Elena, can I ask you something? Go ahead. Do you really think we have a chance of becoming a family again? Elena took so long to answer that Marcus thought she wouldn't say anything. I don't know, she finally said. 18 years changes a person a lot. I changed, you changed, and our children grew up without you. I don't know if we can just go back to what we were before. And what if we don't go back to what we were before? What if we build something new? What do you mean? We can't go back in time, we can't get back the lost years, but maybe we can build a new relationship based on who we are today. Elena considered this possibility. Would that be possible? I don't know, but I'd like to try. And your business, your life in Chicago? Marcus had been avoiding thinking about that issue, but he knew he would have to face it soon. I'll find a way to balance it, or I'll find a way to live without it. Would you be able to do that? Give up everything you built? If it's necessary to be with you, yes. Chloe appeared at the door of the house, catching the end of the conversation. That's easy to say now, she remarked. But when reality hits, when you miss the luxury and the power, you'll think differently. Chloe, Eleanor began to scold her daughter, but Marcus interrupted her. She's right. It's easy to talk, harder to prove. Marcus looked directly into Chloe's eyes. But I will prove it, no matter how long it takes. We'll see, said Chloe, still skeptical. That afternoon, Marcus received a call from his main business partner. The company was facing a crisis, that required his immediate presence in Washington, D.C. "Marcus, you need to be here tomorrow morning," said the partner. "If we don't resolve this quickly, we could lose the most important contract of the year." Marcus looked out the window of the rented room, seeing Elena hanging clothes on the clothesline of the house next door. "I can't travel right now." "How can you not? What's this about?" "I'm dealing with personal matters." "Personal matters don't pay the company's bills. You have responsibilities." "I know." "Then come here. Take care of this, then go back to your personal matters." Marcus hung up the phone without giving a definite answer. It was exactly the kind of situation Elena had predicted. The commitments of his old life were already pulling him back. He spent the entire night thinking about what to do. If he traveled to resolve the crisis, he would be proving that Chloe was right about his priorities. If he didn't travel, he could lose a significant part of his assets. The next morning, he sought out Elena before making a decision. "I need to travel for business. It's an urgent situation." Elena's face immediately closed off. "Of course. I figured this would happen." "It's not what you're thinking. I'm not running away. I'm being honest with you about the situation." "And what is the situation?" "I have to choose between saving an important contract for my company or staying here proving that I've changed. If I go, you'll think I haven't changed at all. If I don't go, I could lose a lot of money. And what's your choice?" Marcus took a deep breath. "I'm staying. Money can be earned back, but your trust, if I lose it again, it might never return." Elena studied him in silence for a long moment. "Are you sure?" "I am." "This contract, is it really that important?" "It's the biggest contract my company has ever signed. If we lose it, we'll have to lay off a lot of employees." The information about the layoffs clearly affected Eleanor, who knew the difficulties of being unemployed. "How many people?" "About 300 families." Eleanor closed her eyes, clearly conflicted. "Marcus, you can't let 300 families lose their jobs because of us." "Yes, I can. They'll find other jobs, but I won't find another family like yours." "Go," Elena said firmly. "Go take care of your business." "Elena, go, but come back. If you've really changed, prove it now by coming back." Marcus hesitated. It was a chance to prove that Elena was right, that he could balance both worlds. Or it was a chance for Elena to see that he really hadn't changed. "I'll be back tonight," he promised. "Tonight? Won't it take several days?" "Normally it would, but I'll handle everything in one day and come back. I might lose the contract for not giving it proper attention, but I'll come back." Chloe, who had heard the whole conversation hidden behind the door, came out of hiding. "Are you really coming back today?" "I am. And if you can't resolve everything in one day, then I'll come back even without resolving it and accept the consequences." Chloe still seemed suspicious, but there was something different in her expression. "Fine. But if you don't come back today, don't bother coming back at all." "Chloe," Eleanor scolded. "No, Mum. He's the one who promised. If he can't keep a simple promise like this, how can we trust him with bigger promises?" Marcus knew Chloe was right. It was a test, and he couldn't fail. "I'll be back before dinner," he reaffirmed. He caught the first bus to Washington, D.C., knowing he had only a few hours to resolve a crisis that would normally take days. The meeting was chaos. The clients were furious, the partners were nervous, and the employees were worried about their jobs. Marcus tried to speed up the negotiations, but the clients insisted on discussing every detail of the contract. "We need time to analyze these terms," said the client's representative. "How much time?" asked Marcus, glancing obsessively at his watch. "A few days, maybe a week." "We don't have a week. We need to settle this today." "Why the rush? That's not how we do business." Marcus looked around the conference room at the expectant faces of his partners and employees. They all depended on him to save their jobs. "Because I have a personal commitment I can't break." "A personal commitment more important than 300 jobs?" The question echoed in the awkward silence of the room. Marcus knew how his answer would sound to everyone there. "Yes," he said firmly, "a personal commitment more important than 300 jobs." The client's representative stood up, clearly offended. "Then maybe we should look for a company that takes our contract more seriously." "Maybe you should," Marcus replied, surprising everyone. The meeting ended in total failure. The contract was lost, and Marcus knew layoffs would start the following week. But at 5 in the afternoon, he was on the bus back to the small town. During the 3-hour trip, he received dozens of furious calls from partners and employees. They all wanted to understand how he could have thrown away the company's biggest contract because of a personal commitment. Marcus turned off his phone and spent the rest of the trip in silence, questioning whether he had made the right decision. 300 families would lose their income because of his choice. It was too heavy a burden to carry. When he arrived at Elena's house, it was 8 in the evening. The family was having dinner, and there was a place set for him at the table. "You came back," said Tyler, smiling. "I promised I would." Chloe studied him carefully. "And how did business go?" "Bad, really bad. I lost the contract and probably 300 people will be out of work." "Because of us?" asked Elena, worried. "No, because of my choice. I chose you." The silence that followed was different from the tense silences of the previous days. It was a silence of reflection, of processing. "Did you lose a lot of money?" asked Tyler innocently. "A lot. Probably millions." "And do you regret coming back?" Marcus looked around the table at the simple food, at the humble home, at the 3 people who represented his true wealth. "Not for a second." Chloe finally let her guard down completely. "Maybe you really have changed. I'm trying. And we're trying to accept you back," she admitted. "It's hard after so long, but we're trying." Marcus felt tears in his eyes for the first time in years. "That's all I can ask for." Eleanor served dinner for Marcus, and for the first time, he noticed she had made his favorite meal, the same dish she used to make when they were young and newlyweds. "You remembered," he said. "I never forgot anything about you, Marcus. Not the good things, not the bad." They ate in relative peace, with Tyler telling stories from school and Chloe showing off some new embroidery she had done. For a moment, Marcus could imagine what it would have been like if he had been there all those years. "Tomorrow we can finish fixing the roof," said Marcus. "Actually, that's not necessary anymore," said Chloe. "Arthur and I finished it this afternoon." "You finished without me?" "You were busy saving our feelings," Chloe laughed. "We figured we could return the favor by saving your back from the heavy work." Marcus laughed too, realizing Chloe had made a joke about the situation. It was the first time she had shown any kind of lightness toward him. "So what other project can I help with?" "The backyard fence is falling down," suggested Elena, "and the well pump is acting up." "Perfect. I have 2 new projects." "Are you sure you don't prefer to go back to your business?" asked Chloe, this time without malice. "I mean, now that you've proven you come back when you promise?" Marcus considered the question seriously. "My business will keep existing with or without me, but this family, this is my only chance to get back what really matters." Eleanor stood up from the table and began gathering the plates. "Marcus, can I speak with you alone?" The 2 stepped out into the yard, leaving Chloe and Tyler in the kitchen. "You don't have to destroy your professional life to prove you've changed," said Elena. "I'm not destroying it. I'm making different choices. Choices that will leave you poor and resentful." "Elena, I have enough money to live comfortably for the rest of my life, even if I lose the whole company. The issue isn't money. The issue is priority." "And what's your priority?" "You all. It should have always been you all." Elena was silent for a long moment, looking at the starry sky. "I'm afraid," she finally admitted. "Afraid of what?" "Afraid of believing you and being abandoned again. Afraid of the kids getting attached and you disappearing. Afraid that this whole thing is just a phase that will pass." Marcus desperately wanted to take her hands, but he knew he still didn't have that right. "I'm afraid too," he confessed. "Afraid of not being able to be the man you all deserve. Afraid of messing everything up again. Afraid that it's too late to fix what I broke." "But you'll try anyway?" "I'll try anyway." Elena nodded slowly. "Then maybe we can try together." Slowly, without rushing, without impossible promises, just trying to build something new from what's left. "That's all I can ask for." "It's not all you deserve, Marcus. It's just all I can give right now. It's more than I deserved after what I did." They stood in silence in the yard, listening to the sounds of the night and the echo of Chloe and Tyler's voices inside the house. For the first time in 18 years, Marcus felt truly at home. The following week, Marcus established a routine. He woke up early, had coffee with Mrs. Martha, worked on small projects around Eleanor's house, had lunch with the family, worked a bit more, had dinner with them, and went back to his room. Gradually, Chloe's defenses began to lower. She discovered that Marcus was a good listener and that he respected her opinions even when he didn't agree with them. Tyler was thrilled to have a father to teach him practical things. They fixed the fence, repaired the well pump, and started building a small workshop where Tyler could have more space for his drawings. Elena remained cautious but cordial. She treated Marcus like a family friend, not a husband, but it was significant progress from the first day. One morning, Mrs. Martha called Marcus for a serious talk. "Young man, I need to tell you something. Go ahead. Your business calls are bothering the other guests, and you're clearly struggling with the decisions you have to make." Marcus had tried to hide the stress of managing a company from a distance, but apparently he hadn't succeeded. "Do you think I should go back to Chicago? I think you need to make a final decision. Either stay here for real and accept the consequences for your business, or go back there and accept the consequences for your family. Can't I have both?" "You can, but not the way you're doing it now. You're trying to be in two places at once, and you're not really present in either." Mrs. Martha was right. Marcus was physically in the small town, but mentally split between two realities. That night, he made a decision that would change his life forever. He called his lead partner and communicated his choice. "I'm selling my share of the company." "Marcus, have you lost your mind?" "Probably, but I also found my soul." "Don't be dramatic. Come here, let's talk in person." "I'm not coming back. I want you to buy my share at market value. If you don't want to, I'll sell it to someone else." "Marcus, this company is your life." "It was my life. Now my life is here." "With an ex-wife who doesn't even want you back? With kids who barely know you?" "Marcus, be rational." "I'm being rational for the first time in 18 years. The call ended with his partner furious, but Marcus felt lighter than he had in decades. He had cut the last thread tying him to his old life. The next day, he told his family about his decision. "You sold your company?" Chloe asked incredulously. "I'm selling it. The process will take a few months, but yes." "Why?" "Because I can't serve two masters. Either I'm a businessman or I'm a father and husband. I can't be both." "Husband?" Elena asked, raising an eyebrow. Marcus blushed, realizing he had assumed too much. "Sorry, I meant father and someone who wants to earn a second chance as a husband." Elena smiled, and Marcus noticed it was the first genuine smile she had given him since his arrival. "And how will you support yourself?" she asked practically. "The money from the sale of the company is enough to live comfortably, and I can work as a consultant or teach or find another way to stay useful." "Are you sure about this decision?" Chloe asked, still worried. "I'm sure I want to try. I'm not sure it will work, but I'm sure it's worth trying." Tyler, who had listened to the whole conversation in silence, finally spoke up. "Does that mean you're staying forever?" "If you'll let me, yes." "And won't you miss Chicago?" Marcus looked around the simple house, at the family he had abandoned and who were now trying to accept him back. "I'll miss some things, but nothing worth more than being here with you." That night, Elena asked to speak with Marcus alone again. "Marcus, you're making very drastic decisions very quickly. Do you think it's a mistake?" "I think it's risky. What if in 6 months you regret it? What if you find out you can't live without the adrenaline of business? Then I'll have to deal with the consequences of my choices. And we'll have to deal with them too, the boys especially." Marcus knew Elena was right. His decision affected not just him, but the whole family. "Elena, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to go back to the city and visit you on weekends? Do you want me to keep a foot in each world?" "I don't know what I want," she admitted. 18 years waiting for you to come back, and now that you're here, I'm afraid to believe it's real." "It's real. I'm here, aren't I?" "Physically, yes. But emotionally? Marcus, you've changed a lot. I've changed a lot. I don't know if we can just ignore all that time that passed. I'm not asking you to ignore it. I'm asking you to start over. How? Let me win you over again. Let me get to know the woman you've become. Let me show you the man I can be. Elena considered the proposal in silence. It would be like dating again. It would be like dating again. No pressure, no rush, no unrealistic expectations. And the boys, how would we explain this to them? We told the truth, that we're trying to get to know each other again, trying to see if we still have a chance to be happy together. And if it doesn't work out, then at least the boys will know we tried. And I'll know I did everything I could to win back the woman I've always loved. Eleanor was silent for so long that Marcus thought she wouldn't answer. Okay, she finally said. We can try, but slowly, very slowly. Slow works great for me. And no expensive gifts or grand gestures. If you want to win me over, it's going to have to be with small daily kindnesses. Deal. And you sleep at Mrs. Martha's house. No drastic changes to our routine until we know if this is going to work. Deal. And if either of the boys feels uncomfortable with the situation, we stop immediately. Deal. Elena reached out her hand to seal the agreement, but when Marcus took it to shake, she didn't let go right away. They stayed like that for a moment, hands clasped, looking at each other in the starlight. I forgot how big your hands were, she said softly, and I forgot how soft yours were, even with all the work they do. Elena gently released his hand. Good night, Marcus. Good night, Elena. And so began the second phase of Marcus and Elena's relationship, a phase of rediscovery, of caution, of small gestures and big hopes. Marcus woke up the next morning feeling something he hadn't experienced in years, genuine anticipation for the day ahead. Not the anxiety of business or the pressure of professional commitments, but the simple joy of knowing he'd spend the day near the people he loved. Mrs. Martha noticed the change in his mood during breakfast. You seem different today. How so? Lighter, like you've lifted a weight off your shoulders. Marcus smiled. Maybe I have. Did Elena agree to give you a chance? A chance to try to win her over again. Mrs. Martha nodded approvingly. It's more than you deserved, but less than she deserves. I hope you don't waste this opportunity. I won't waste it. Marcus spent the morning fixing Elena's chicken coop, a chore she'd mentioned needing to do for weeks. It wasn't glamorous, but it was necessary, and he wanted to show he was willing to help with any task, no matter how simple. Tyler found him working mid-morning. Why are you cleaning the chicken coop? Because your mother mentioned it needed to be done. But that's not a rich man's job. Marcus stopped what he was doing and looked at Tyler. Who told you that? Everyone. They say a rich man doesn't work with his own hands. And do you believe that? Tyler thought carefully before answering. I don't know. I've never known any rich man before. Well, now you do. And this rich man is cleaning a chicken coop because he wants to help his family. Why? Because I've discovered that work done with love is worth more than any money in the world. Tyler nodded, as if that made sense to him. Can I help you? Sure, but I warn you, it's dirty work. I don't mind. They worked together on the chicken coop, Marcus teaching Tyler how to make repairs and improvements to the structure. It was simple work, but Marcus found a deep satisfaction in teaching practical skills to his son. Do you like working with your hands? Tyler asked. I used to. I had forgotten that for many years. Why did you forget? Because I thought intellectual work was more important than manual work. I thought important men didn't get their hands dirty. And now? Now I know there's no work more important than what we do to take care of the people we love. When they finished the chicken coop, Tyler ran to show the work to Elena and Chloe. Marcus stood outside watching the boys' excitement as he described every improvement they had made. Elena came out to inspect the work. It looks really good, she said, clearly impressed. I've been wanting to fix this up for so long. It was my pleasure to help. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. I want to help with whatever I can. Elena studied him for a moment. Would you like to have lunch with us? It was the first time she'd made the invitation spontaneously. Normally, Marcus arrived around lunchtime and was invited out of politeness. I'd love to. During lunch, Chloe asked about Marcus's plans for the future. Have you decided what you'll do when you sell the company? Not yet. Maybe I'll start a small business around here. Maybe offer consulting services. Or maybe just help develop community projects. Community projects? Asked Elena, interested. Well, this area has potential for rural tourism, local crafts, organic products. I could help organize cooperatives, create training programs, that sort of thing. Would you really do that? Asked Chloe skeptically. I would. It's a way to use my business experience to benefit real people instead of just accumulating wealth. And would that bring you joy? Marcus considered the question honestly. More joy than making millions selling products people don't need to people who have too much money. Elena smiled again, and Marcus noticed she was beginning to believe that his change of perspective was genuine. Marcus, can I ask you something personal? Said Chloe. Sure. In all these years, have you ever gotten involved with anyone else? The question caught Marcus off guard. Eleanor also tensed, clearly interested in the answer. I had a few relationships, Marcus admitted. Nothing serious, nothing lasting. They always ended because I couldn't open up emotionally to anyone. Why? Because my heart still belonged to your mother. Even after all that time, even knowing I had lost the right to her love, I couldn't love anyone else. Chloe exchanged a meaningful glance with Eleanor. That's sad. It was my choice, and it was fair. I had abandoned true love. I didn't deserve to find a replacement. And now? Eleanor asked softly. Now do you think you deserve a second chance? I don't know if I deserve it, but I know I want it more than anything in the world. The rest of the lunch was more relaxed. Tyler talked about a new drawing he was working on. Chloe spoke about the medicinal plants she was learning to grow, and Elena shared news from the community school. Marcus realized he was getting to know completely new versions of the three people he loved. Tyler had developed an impressive maturity for his age. Chloe had become a determined, intelligent young woman with strong opinions and a sharp sense of justice. Elena had transformed into an independent woman, respected in the community, very different from the shy young woman he had left behind. You've all changed so much, he remarked. You have too, observed Chloe. You're no longer that ambitious man who only thought about money. How do you know? You barely knew me before. Mom talked about you, Tyler explained, all the time. She talked about your dreams, your plans, how you wanted to change the world. And you notice I'm different now. Now, you want to change just our world, said Chloe perceptively. It's less grand but more real. Marcus was impressed by Chloe's observation. She was right. Before he wanted grand achievements and worldwide recognition. Now he just wanted to win back his family's love. Chloe, can I ask what your dream is? What do you want to do with your life? I want to study sustainable agriculture. I want to learn modern planting techniques that respect the land and develop the local community. That's a beautiful dream. And achievable, added Elena proudly. Chloe always was practical with her goals. Unlike me, said Marcus. My goals were always too grand. They weren't too grand, Elena corrected. They were just disconnected from what truly mattered. Marcus nodded. Elena had summed up the problem with his old mindset perfectly. That afternoon, Marcus received a call from the lawyer handling the sale of his company. The process was moving quickly, and soon he would have cut ties with his old life for good. Marcus, are you sure about this decision? The lawyer asked. Once the sale is finalized, there's no turning back. I'm sure. And have you thought about how you'll support yourself? The amount you'll get from the sale is substantial, but it's not infinite. I'll find something to do, something with purpose. Purpose doesn't pay the bills. The bills that really matter, it does. Marcus hung up and noticed that Elena had overheard part of the conversation. Problems with the sale? She asked. No, just people trying to change my mind. And will you change it? No. Eleanor nodded, but Marcus could tell she still had doubts. Eleanor, can I ask you something? Go ahead. What do I need to do to prove this change is for real? What do I need to do for you to fully believe in me? Eleanor thought carefully before answering. Time, she said simply. I need time to see you handle difficulties without running away. I need time to see you happy with a simple life. I need time to believe that you won't wake up one day regretting all these choices. How much time? I don't know. Maybe months, maybe years. And if I spend years and you still can't fully trust me, then at least we'll know we truly tried. Marcus accepted the answer. Time was something he had in abundance now, and patience was something he was learning to cultivate. In the weeks that followed, Marcus established an even more defined routine. He woke up early, worked on useful projects in the morning, had lunch with the family, spent the afternoon teaching Tyler practical skills, had dinner with everyone, and returned to his room before nightfall. Gradually, the barriers came down. Chloe began asking him for advice on her studies. Tyler occasionally started calling Marcus Dad. Eleanor began to smile more often in his presence. One evening, Eleanor invited him for a walk after dinner. "How are you feeling?" she asked. "Honestly? Happier than I've felt in 18 years. Even living in a rented room doing manual labor, far from all the luxury you were used to. Especially because of that. Elena, I had everything and I had nothing. Now I have very little and I have everything." They walked in silence for a while, enjoying the fresh night air and the starry sky that was never visible in Chicago. "Marcus, can I tell you a secret?" "Of course." "I always knew you'd come back one day." "How did you know?" "Because I knew you better than you knew yourself. I knew ambition would consume you for a while, but that, in the end, you'd realize you'd lost what truly mattered." "Is that why you waited for me?" "I didn't wait consciously. I simply couldn't stop loving you even after everything." Marcus stopped walking and turned to face her. "And now? Do you still love me?" Elena hesitated, but her gaze didn't waver from his. "I love the man you were. I'm learning to love the man you've become." "Are they two different people?" "In part. The man you were had beautiful dreams, but questionable methods. The man you've become has beautiful methods, but I'm still getting to know his dreams. My dreams are very simple now. I want to wake up every day next to the woman I love. I want to see my children grow up and be happy. I want to build a life based on love, not ambition. Those are beautiful dreams, but they are also fragile. It's easy to get tired of simple dreams when you're used to grand ones." Marcus understood Eleanor's concern. She wasn't questioning his sincerity in the present, but his ability to maintain this new perspective in the long run. "Eleanor, can I ask you something?" "What?" "Give me an impossible task. Give me something to prove that I won't give up when things get tough." "That's not how it works, Marcus. It's not about proving anything at a specific moment. It's about being consistent every day, even when no one is watching. Then watch me. Watch me every day. Test me every day. And when you're satisfied with what you see, tell me." Elena smiled sadly. "Marcus, it's not my job to test you. It's your job to be the person you say you want to be, regardless of whether I'm watching or not." Marcus realized Eleanor was right. He was still thinking as if love were a contract that needed to be negotiated and approved. But true love was unconditional and spontaneous. "You're right, I'm sorry. I'm still learning not to treat relationships like business deals." "It's progress that you recognize that." They went home in comfortable silence. Marcus felt there was a growing understanding between them, a connection that was gradually being rebuilt. The following month, Marcus faced his first real test. One of his former partners approached him with an irresistible proposal, a new company that could make him even richer than he had been. "Marcus, you're wasting your talent in some backwater town. Come with us. We'll build an even greater empire." The offer was tempting, especially because it would allow Marcus to keep his residence in the small town and travel only when necessary. Marcus asked for a week to think it over, but he knew what his answer would be. Even so, he wanted to be sure he was making the decision for the right reasons. He talked to Mrs. Martha about the situation. "What does your heart say?" she asked. "My heart wants to stay here, but my mind keeps thinking about all the opportunities I'm missing. And which one is more reliable, your heart or your mind? My mind brought me professional success and personal loneliness. My heart brought me back here. Then I think you already know which one to follow. Marcus also talked to Chloe about the offer. What do you think? Should I accept? I don't know. It's your life. But it will affect you too. If I accept, I'll have to travel more, I'll have less time here. So, you have to decide what's most important to you. Marcus realized Chloe was testing him, wanting to see if he would make the right decision without external pressure. To me, you are the most important, but I wanted to know if you also want me to stay. We do, Chloe said simply, but we want you to stay because you want to stay, not because you feel obligated. Marcus also talked to Tyler. If I stay here, maybe you and Chloe won't have the same opportunities you would have if I started making a lot of money again. What opportunities? Tyler asked. Better education, travel, experiences that money can buy. Tyler considered this seriously. But if you leave to make money to give us opportunities, you won't be here to see us enjoy those opportunities. The 10-year-old boy's observation was wiser than any cost-benefit analysis Marcus could do. Finally, Marcus talked to Eleanor. Is the offer good? She asked. Very good. Financially, it would be the smartest decision. And personally? Personally, that would be repeating all the mistakes I made before. Then what's your doubt? Marcus laughed at the simplicity of the question. I have no doubt at all. I just wanted to make sure I was seeing the situation clearly. At the end of the week, Marcus called his former partner and turned down the offer. Marcus, you've completely lost your mind. Maybe. Or maybe I've finally found it. When he told his family about his decision, Tyler was the first to react. You chose to stay with us. I'll always choose to stay with you. Chloe smiled approvingly, but said nothing. Eleanor nodded with quiet satisfaction. How do you feel? Eleanor asked later when they were alone. Relieved. Happy. Right. No regrets? None. Even knowing you just turned down millions of dollars. Especially knowing I just turned down millions of dollars. Elena, 18 years ago I chose money over you. Today I chose you over money. I finally made the right decision. Elena kissed him gently on the forehead. I'm proud of you. It was the first time she had shown physical affection since he came back, and Marcus felt as if he had won the most valuable prize in the world. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to leave a like, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. The following months were a time of consolidation. Marcus finished selling his company and invested the money conservatively, ensuring enough income for a comfortable life without excessive luxuries. He began working as a consultant for small local businesses, helping local entrepreneurs organize and expand their operations. The work was satisfying in a completely different way from the big deals he was used to handling. Chloe earned a scholarship to study sustainable agriculture at a federal university. Marcus offered financial help for her expenses, but she insisted on working part-time to support herself. I don't want advantages that other students don't have, she explained. I want to earn my degree through my own effort. Marcus respected her decision, but secretly arranged for Chloe to receive a student assistance grant that covered all her expenses. She never knew that the government grant had been funded by her father. Tyler continued developing his artistic talents, and Marcus built a small studio in the backyard where the boy could work comfortably. He also arranged private art lessons with a teacher from the neighboring town. Why are you doing all this? Eleanor asked. Because I want our children to have every possible opportunity, but I want to give those opportunities while being present, not while being absent. And you? Don't you miss the professional challenges you were used to? I miss the adrenaline sometimes, but I prefer the peace I have now to the turmoil I had before, even when the problems here are smaller and the victories simpler, especially because of that. Elena, I closed multi-million-dollar deals and felt empty. Yesterday I helped Mrs. Martha organize the Artisans Cooperative and felt fulfilled. The difference is that now my work benefits people I know and care about. Eleanor watched Marcus for months, paying attention to how he reacted to small frustrations, repetitive routines, problems without grand solutions. She noticed that he had genuinely changed his perspective on what constituted a valuable life. One evening, almost a year after Marcus had returned, Elena made an announcement during dinner. "Kids, I need to talk to you about something." Chloe and Tyler grew attentive, noticing the hesitation in their mother's voice. "Marcus has been with us for almost a year. He proved he's changed, that he's committed to our family, that he chose a different life from the one he used to lead." "So what?" asked Chloe, though she clearly knew where the conversation was heading. "So it's time for us to decide if we want to make this new situation official, if we want to be a family again officially." Tyler immediately perked up. "Does that mean Dad is going to live here with us?" "If you all agree, and if he wants to, yes." Everyone looked at Marcus, who was clearly moved by the proposal. "Chloe," asked Elena, "what do you think?" Chloe studied Marcus carefully. "Do you really want to live here, in this simple home, with our simple life, forever?" "I want it more than anything in the world." "And you won't wake up 5 years from now wanting a more exciting life?" "Chloe, this life is more exciting than anything I've lived in the last 18 years. Waking up every day knowing I'll spend the day with the people I love is the greatest thrill possible." Chloe nodded slowly. "Then I agree, but with one condition." "What?" "That you promise never to leave again. No matter what happens, no matter what problems we face, you stay and we handle them together." "I promise." "Tyler?" asked Elena. "I want Dad to live here," said Tyler without hesitation. Elena turned to Marcus. "And you? Do you officially want to be my husband again, and father to our children?" Marcus stood up from his chair and knelt beside Elena. "Elena Miller Sterling, will you take me back as your husband? Even after everything I've done, even after all the lost time, even knowing I can never fully make up for the years I stole from you?" Elena smiled, and Marcus saw in her eyes the same love he had seen 19 years ago when they first got married. "I accept. I accept the man you've become. I accept the simple life we'll live together. I accept starting our story over from today." Marcus kissed her for the first time in 18 years, while Chloe and Tyler clapped emotionally. "Does that mean we're going to have a wedding party?" asked Tyler. "We don't need a party," said Elena. "We already have everything we need." "Can we at least have a special dinner?" insisted Chloe. "We can have a special dinner," agreed Marcus. "But I'm cooking." "You know how to cook?" asked Tyler, surprised. "No, but I'll learn. It's one more skill a family man should have." They all laughed together, and Marcus felt he was truly home for the first time in 18 years. The following week, Marcus moved his few possessions into Elena's home. It was a symbolic move, since he had practically been living there for months, but it made a difference to have his space officially recognized. "Where am I going to sleep?" he asked, half joking, half serious. "With me," Eleanor answered simply. "We're husband and wife again." "Are you sure? Don't you want more time to get used to the idea?" "Marcus, you've proved for months that you've changed. I'm not going to make you sleep on the couch just for formality's sake." "What if I snore, or if I have habits you don't remember?" "Then we'll deal with it like any normal couple, with patience and a sense of humor." That night, Marcus slept in the same bed as Eleanor for the first time in 18 years. It was strange and familiar all at once. Strange because they had both changed so much. Familiar because the love between them remained unchanged. "Marcus," Elena whispered in the darkness. "Thank you for coming back. Thank you for taking me back. I love you. I love you too. I always have." They fell asleep in each other's arms, like they did when they were young, before Marcus lost his way and turned love into ambition. The months that followed were a time of total adjustment. Marcus learned again the rhythms of the house, the family's preferences, the routines that had been established during his absence. He discovered that Chloe liked to have tea alone in the late afternoon while reading or studying. Marcus respected that moment, but started preparing the tea for her every day, leaving the steaming cup beside her books without saying a word. He discovered that Tyler liked to draw late at night when the house was quiet. Marcus started staying up too, not interfering with his son's creative process, but available if the boy wanted to show some work or ask questions. He discovered that Elena woke up before dawn every day, not out of necessity, but because she liked to have a few minutes of silence before the day began. Marcus started waking up with her, making coffee and sitting beside her on the porch, sharing the morning silence. "You don't have to wake up with me," Eleanor said one day. "I want to wake up with you. I want to share even the silent moments of your life. Isn't it boring for you, just sitting here without saying anything? It's the opposite of boring. It's peace. It's the first time in 18 years I've felt true peace." Marcus also established his own traditions. Every Sunday he prepared a special lunch for the family, trying new recipes and attempting to recreate dishes Elena had mentioned liking. Every Thursday he took Tyler on exploratory hikes around the area, looking for interesting landscapes the boy could draw. Every Monday he helped Chloe with her studies, offering practical perspectives on rural management that complemented her theoretical knowledge. And every night, before going to sleep, he told Elena about his day, about the people he had helped, about the small problems he had solved, about the simple satisfactions he had experienced. "Are you happy?" Elena asked one night. "I'm happier than I ever imagined I could be. Even without the adrenaline of big business, even without public recognition, even without the feeling of conquering the world." "Eleanor, I thought I was conquering the world, but I was actually losing my soul. Now I feel like I'm conquering myself, and that is much harder and much more valuable than any professional success. Don't you feel like you're wasting your talents?" "I'm using my talents differently. Before, I used them to accumulate wealth for myself. Now I use them to improve the lives of my family and community." "Which use is more valuable?" Elena smiled and nestled beside Marcus. "I fell in love with the right man 18 years ago. It just took a while for you to become that man. And I fell in love with the right woman 18 years ago, and I was lucky she waited for me until I deserved her love." A year later, Chloe graduated in sustainable agriculture and returned home with revolutionary ideas for developing the rural community. Marcus supported her enthusiastically, offering initial capital for her projects and connections with potential partners. "Dad, are you sure you want to invest in this? It could go wrong." "Chloe, 2 years ago I invested millions in projects that were financially successful but didn't improve anyone's life. I'd rather invest in projects that can improve real people's lives, even if the financial return is smaller. And if we lose money, then we'll learn from our mistakes and try again. The important thing is that we're trying to make a difference." Chloe started a small organic farming cooperative that quickly expanded to include families from the entire region. Marcus used his business experience to help structure the cooperative, but was careful not to dominate the process. "Why don't you take the lead?" Chloe asked. "You have much more experience than any of us." "Because this is your company, not mine. My role is to support and advise, not to direct." "But it would be more efficient if you took charge." "It would be more efficient in the short term, but less sustainable in the long term. You need to develop your own leadership skills." Tyler also developed his artistic talents, gaining regional recognition for his paintings of rural life. Several galleries in Washington, D.C. showed interest in exhibiting his work. "Do you want me to accept the gallery offers?" Tyler asked. "What do you want to do?" "I want my art to be seen, but I don't want to move to Chicago." "Then accept the exhibitions, but keep your base here. You can travel for specific events without permanently relocating." "Is that possible?" "Of course it's possible. Artistic success doesn't require you to abandon your roots." Marcus helped Tyler negotiate contracts with the galleries that allowed the young artist to keep his home in the small town while expanding his career. "Dad, thank you for helping me without trying to control my career." "Tyler, I made that mistake once in my own life, letting professional ambition destroy my personal happiness. I won't let you make the same mistake. But what if I want to try living in Chicago for a while, to have more experiences? Then it will be your choice. But always remember that home is here, that family is here, and that you can always come back. 5 years after Marcus had returned, the family was completely settled. Chloe ran a thriving agricultural cooperative. Tyler was a recognized artist who chose to stay connected to his roots, and Elena had expanded her community school to include adult literacy programs. Marcus had found his purpose helping to develop community projects throughout the region. His name was respected not for the amount of money he had, but for the quality of the programs he helped implement. "Do you ever regret it?" Elena asked on a particularly starry night. "Regret what?" "Choosing this life over the life you could have had if you hadn't come back." Marcus considered the question seriously. "Elena, I had the life everyone thinks they want. Money, power, recognition, and I was deeply unhappy. Now I have a life that most people consider ordinary, and I am completely fulfilled. Even on the hard days, even when the projects go wrong, even when we have money troubles. Especially on the hard days, because on the hard days, I have you all by my side. Before, on the hard days, I was alone, no matter how many people were around me. And you truly believe you made the right choice?" Marcus looked at the simple, weathered cabin where he lived, at the woman beside him, at the voices of Chloe and Tyler chatting in the kitchen about plans for the next day. "Elena, 6 years ago I was a rich and lonely man. Today I am a man of modest means and surrounded by love. Anyone who chose the first option over the second would be a fool. And if someone offered you the chance to go back to your former life, with the guarantee that you would keep the family too? Impossible. You cannot serve two masters. Either you choose material wealth or you choose emotional wealth. I chose emotional wealth and have never regretted it. Not even when Tyler needed expensive medical treatment and we struggled to pay." Marcus remembered the episode from the previous year when Tyler had broken his arm and needed surgery. The cost had been high, and they had to use a significant portion of their savings. Even then, because we solved the problem together as a family. If I were still the man I was before, I would have solved the problem alone, with money, but without being there to support Tyler during his recovery. "You were there throughout his entire recovery." "Exactly. And that meant far more to him than any amount I could have paid." Elena snuggled up beside Marcus, satisfied with his answers. "I love the man you've become. And I love the life we've built together." They sat in silence for a while, enjoying the peace of the night and the contentment of a life well lived. "Marcus? Thank you for coming home. Thank you for making this home a place worth coming back to." The following summer, Marcus and Elena renewed their wedding vows in a simple ceremony in their backyard. Chloe and Tyler Sterling organized the celebration, inviting the whole community to share in the family's joy. Mrs. Martha was the master of ceremonies, Arthur was the best man, and the children from the community school formed the choir. "Marcus Sterling, Mrs." Martha said solemnly, "do you promise to love and protect Elena in joy and in sorrow, in wealth and in poverty, in health and in sickness, for the rest of your life?" "I do," Marcus replied, looking directly into Elena's eyes, "and this time I know exactly what that promise means." "Elena Miller Sterling," Mrs. Martha continued, "do you promise to love and forgive Marcus in joy and in sorrow, in wealth and in poverty, in health and in sickness, for the rest of your life?" "I do," Elena answered, "because he has proven worthy of that love and that forgiveness." When they kissed to seal the renewed vows, the entire community applauded. Chloe and Tyler ran to hug their parents, and Marcus felt that his life had finally arrived where it was always meant to be. During the celebration that followed, several people from the community approached Marcus to thank him for his contribution to the region's development. "Marcus, before you came back, our community was stagnating. Now we have the cooperative, the educational programs, the rural tourism projects. You transformed our reality." "It wasn't just me," Marcus replied. "It was everyone's work. I only offered some ideas and financial support. But your ideas came from real experience, from someone who knows the business world. That made all the difference." Marcus looked around the party, seeing the smiling faces of people he had come to know and love as an extended family. "You transformed my reality much more than I transformed yours." That night, after all the guests had left, and the family was relaxing on the porch, Chloe made an observation that touched Marcus deeply. "Dad, Do you know what the difference is between the man you were before and the man you are now? What? Before you wanted to be important to the whole world. Now you're important to the right people. And is that better? It's much better. Because being important to the whole world means nothing if you're not important to your own family. Tyler agreed with his sister. And because now you're truly happy. Before, in the stories Mom told, you always seemed to be chasing after something. Now you seem content with what you have. Marcus reflected on his children's observations. You're right. Before I was always chasing more. More money, more success, more recognition. Now I have exactly what I need to be happy. And what do you need to be happy? Elena asked. You, this home, this community, the chance to do work that really matters, the certainty that I'm living according to my true values. Have your values changed a lot? Actually, I think they've come back to what they originally were. When I was young, I valued family, community, honest work. At some point, I convinced myself that money and status were more important. Now, I know I was wrong. And what if our children choose a different path? Eleanor asked. If Chloe decides to expand the cooperative into a big corporation, if Tyler decides to live in Paris to become a world-famous artist. So I'll support them completely, because I'll be there to support them. The difference isn't which path they choose, but whether I'm here to walk it with them. 10 years after Marcus came back, the family had grown. Chloe married an agronomist who shared her passion for sustainable farming, and they had 2 children. Tyler married a teacher from the community school and also had a daughter. Marcus became a grandfather at 55 and found that this was a role that came naturally to him. He loved spending time with his grandchildren, teaching them the same practical skills he had taught Chloe and Tyler. Grandpa, were you really very rich before? Asked the oldest grandchild, Chloe's son. I was. And don't you miss being rich? Marcus thought carefully before answering. You know, I used to think being rich meant having a lot of money. But now I know that being rich means having a family that loves you, true friends, work that makes a difference in people's lives, and time to enjoy all of that. So are you still rich? I'm much richer now than I was before. But how? If you have less money? Because money only buys things. But what really matters in life can't be bought. It has to be built, day after day, with love and dedication. Tyler's daughter, who had been listening to the conversation, came closer. Grandpa, do you regret leaving when Dad and Aunt Chloe were little? It was a direct question that Marcus occasionally got from his grandchildren. He always answered honestly. I regret it deeply. It was the biggest mistake of my life. Then why did you do it? Because I was confused about what really mattered. I thought that if I made a lot of money, I could give your grandma and your parents a better life. But really, all they wanted was for me to stay with them. And now you understand that. Now I understand perfectly. The most valuable thing I can give you isn't money or expensive gifts. It's my presence, my attention, my love. Is that why you always play with us and teach us things? Exactly, because these moments with you are the most precious in my life. Marcus kept his promise never to leave again, even when he received tempting invitations to return to the business world, even when he faced financial difficulties, even when life in the small town became routine, he stayed. He stayed when Chloe had a difficult pregnancy and needed constant support. He stayed when Tyler went through a creative crisis and questioned his artistic talent. He stayed when Elena developed health problems related to the years of strain from raising the children alone. He stayed because he had learned that true love isn't a feeling that comes and goes with circumstances, but a choice you make every day, especially on hard days. On his 60th birthday, Marcus reflected on the 2 decades he had spent in the small town since his return. He had built a life completely different from what he imagined when he was young and ambitious. A smaller life in terms of global recognition, but infinitely larger in terms of personal fulfillment. Chloe's cooperative now served several regions and had become a national model for sustainable farming. Tyler's works were in museums in various cities, but he kept his studio in the house where he grew up. Eleanor's school had expanded and now offered quality education to children and adults throughout the region. And Marcus had become a respected figure in the community, not for his wealth, but for his constant dedication to the common good. "Are you happy with the life we built?" Eleanor asked on the night of the birthday. "More than happy. I'm grateful." "Grateful for what?" "For you giving me a second chance, for our children taking me back, for having discovered that it's never too late to make the right choices. And if you could change one thing, I'd change only one thing. I wouldn't have left in the beginning. I would have stayed here from the start, building this life alongside you from the very beginning. But if you hadn't left, maybe you would never have learned the value of what you had here. Maybe. Or maybe you would have learned it in a less painful way for all of us." Elena reflected on that. "Marcus, do you know what I've learned all these years?" "What?" "That sometimes people need to lose themselves to find themselves. You lost yourself in ambition, but you found yourself in love. And now you're a better man than you could have been if you'd never gone through that journey. Do you really believe that?" "I do. The Marcus who came home is wiser, humbler, more grateful than the Marcus who left. The experience changed you for the better, even though it was painful." Marcus considered Elena's words. She was right. His years of excessive ambition had taught him valuable lessons about what truly mattered in life, lessons he might not have learned any other way. "So you don't regret having waited for me?" "I've never regretted it, because I knew the man I had loved still existed inside the ambitious man you had become. He just needed to find his way back home." "And now? Am I truly home now?" "Now you are home. You, me, our children, our grandchildren, this community we helped build. We're all one extended family, and you're an essential part of it." Marcus looked around the house that had become the center of his life. It was the same simple house he had returned to 20 years ago, but now it was filled with family photos, the grandchildren's drawings, plants Elena cultivated, books Chloe had brought from college, tools he and Tyler used in their projects together. "This house is too small for so much happiness," he said, smiling. "True happiness doesn't need a lot of space," Elena replied. "It just needs open hearts." And so Marcus Sterling completed his journey, from the ambitious young man who set out in search of wealth, to the successful but lonely businessman who built an empty empire, to the mature man who found true riches in his family's love and service to his community. At 70 years old, Marcus still woke up every day next to the woman he had always loved, in a house full of children, grandchildren, and the constant motion of a large, close-knit family. He still helped the community with his business knowledge, but now as an act of love, not a pursuit of profit. He still faced challenges and difficulties, but now with the unconditional support of people who truly cared about him. And he still remembered every day the most important lesson he had learned, that a true home is not a geographical place, but an emotional state created when you choose to love and be loved, when you choose to serve instead of being served, when you choose to be present instead of being successful. On a particularly beautiful spring morning, Marcus was sitting on the porch with Elena, watching the grandchildren play in the yard, when she made an observation that perfectly summed up his entire journey. "Marcus, do you know what your greatest success in life was?" "What?" "It wasn't building a business empire. It wasn't making millions of dollars. It wasn't having your name in the papers or being respected in the business world. Then what was it? It was learning to come home. It was discovering that true success isn't what you achieve for yourself, but what you build with the people you love." Marcus Sterling smiled, watching Chloe teach his children how to plant in the garden, Tyler drawing with his daughter next to the tree they had planted together years ago, Elena preparing lunch for the whole extended family that always showed up on Sundays. "You're right," he said. "This is my greatest success, and it's a success that keeps growing every day." "How so?" "Because every day I wake up and choose again to be the man my family deserves. Every day I choose again to prioritize love over ambition. Every day I choose again to be present instead of busy." "And you never get tired of making those choices?" "Never. Because now I know these are the only choices that truly matter." And so, under the blue sky of a spring morning, surrounded by the sounds of a happy family and the feeling of a life well lived, Marcus Sterling finally understood that he had found what he had always been searching for, It wasn't material wealth or professional recognition. It was simply the possibility of loving and being loved, of being present in the moments that truly matter, and of knowing that when he reached the end of his life, he could look back without regret, knowing he had chosen correctly between what seemed important and what really was important. End of story. Now tell us what you thought of this story and where you're watching us from. If you have something to share with us, leave it in the comments with sincere words. Do you believe Marcus made the right decisions? We'd love to read your opinion. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to leave your like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other emotional stories.